Hello, welcome back to my channel. I would like to welcome those who are new to the channel, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so that whenever I post videos, you'll be the first person to be notified. For those who are coming back, who have been part of this channel or the growth of this channel, thank you so much for your support. And thank you so much for watching the videos and for your kind words. I see there are lots of comments in the comments box, in the comment box. Thank you so much, colleagues. It's been a while since I've posted to this channel. There's been quite a few things going on in my own personal life, and I needed to give attention to those, few things which are going on. But here we are, back on the channel, like I promised you. I will be posting a few videos in the next coming few weeks, and I've also lined up some few interviews with some key prominent colleagues that I think you'd also benefit from in terms of hearing their life story and also hearing where they are at in terms of their career and practice. So today's topic, I just want to talk to you about a few tips which I'm going to give to you, especially those who are newly qualified or who are coming to practice in England for the first time, in terms of tips on how to do, purposeful home visits. Tips on how to do purposeful home visits. So first and foremost, I would need to emphasize the fact that when it comes to doing home visits, whether it's an early help case, whether it's a child in need case, or whether it's a child protection case, you need to make sure that your visit is purposeful. And the way you make sure that it's purposeful is make sure that you plan ahead of you going out there to see those children or to see those siblings. So when it comes to planning your visit, one, you need to make sure that your visit is purposeful in the sense that there is something on that plan that you are going to be progressing when you go out on that particular visit. So you need to make sure that before you go out on a visit, whether it's a case that you're covering a visit on duty or whether you're covering a case for somebody else who is away on annual leave or whatever, a colleague, you need to be conversant, or you need to be aware of what's going on that particular case. You need to be aware of what are the concerns on that particular case, and it would be helpful if you can read the last assessment done on the case, or if you can also read the last review minutes which are on the case. And it is also essential if you can also read the last visit which is on that particular case. That will help you to map and to plan your visit accordingly. So planning. I'm going to emphasize planning is very important for you when it comes to home visits. Home visit shouldn't be an issue where you just go, check in and come out. It doesn't work like that. So you need to make sure that you plan your visits accordingly. Yeah. So moving on then, in terms of the home visit that you are doing, if you've read the file and you feel that there are concerns that you can't go on that visit alone, speak to your manager and see if it is possible for you to go on that visit in pairs. Because there are some visits where there are particular risks to staff members or to colleagues. So it would be important for you to be mindful of that. Usually in some local authorities, the file will be indicated, or there will be a warning on the file, like for example, do not visit alone. So it means that you need somebody else to go with. So it could be a colleague who is on duty, or it could be a colleague in the team that you may actually go with on that particular visit. So you need to make sure that you check those things before you go out on that particular visit. Right. It's also important to make sure that when you plan your home visit, you should know the time that you require to travel to that particular household. Check on Google Maps. It will tell you how many minutes you need to drive from the office to that particular home visit. That is if you're driving, or if you're using a bus, it will also tell you how many minutes you need on the bus to go to that particular home visit. It's really, really important to make sure that you get there on time, because remember, service users just like you, they are also professionals in their own spheres of life, and time is also of essence to them. So it's really unprofessional for you to say I'll be there 4 o'clock and then you'll be there 5 o'clock. So, or if you are getting late, get in touch with them, always communicate with them about what's happening so that they can expect you at the right time. Okay, that is if it is an announced visit. Remember, we also do unannounced visits on statutory on statutory plans, especially for children who are subject to child protection plans and sometimes PLO. We do unannounced visits. So with those unannounced visits, if it is unannounced, then you just rock up and whatever time you get there, that's it. But remember, you need to be realistic. You can't be rocking up at people's houses 8 o'clock, but you need to be realistic in terms of the times that you are visiting. Right. When you are in the family home, obviously, when you get to the family home, you need to be culturally sensitive. There are some households where they wouldn't allow you to go in with your shoes, but because you're a social worker, they may want to give you some leeway to go in with your shoes, but be polite and ask them if they would expect you to be removing your shoes. Some they will tell you, okay, fine, you can remove your shoes. Please remove your shoes, go in, do what you need to be doing, and then come out, put on your shoes, and go out. Right. And then there are also instances where, for example, you've come to the household and there doesn't look like there's anybody at home. Please do check. You can actually open if possible, the letterbox and see whether shout whether they can hear you. Possibly they're sleeping or whatever is going on in the household. Or you can also check if there's leeway for you to check at the back garden whether they're sitting at the back garden. They may not actually hear your knock in the front door when they're sitting at the back garden. So you might actually leave and go and say there's nobody when they're sitting at the back. So you need to be be innovative and do all those kind of things to check and be sure that there's nobody at home. And if there are incident or if there are instances where there is, as part of the safety plan, somebody, an adult, a risk adult, is not supposed to be in that particular household, make sure that when you are knocking on the front door, somebody else is at the back side or back garden checking whether that person is going to be living through the back garden or not. Because as part of the safety plan, as you know, there might be a safety plan where it is an expectation that this person is not supposed to be visiting this family without supervision or something like that. So you need to be mindful about that as well. And when you get to the household, make sure that when you are in the household, you do record the names of everybody who is in that particular household. Remember that sometimes you'll be visiting this family, covering a visit for somebody else. And when you get there, you see Uncle X is in there and he's not supposed to be there. Maybe he's a risky adult to the children. You make sure that you record everybody who is there. And when you come back to the office, give that social worker a handover and say, this is what I've seen, this is what I observed when I went there. And it's also important to make sure that I mentioned earlier on about when you get to a household and you don't see people or you don't think that there are people inside, there's nothing wrong calling while you're standing in front door and say, I'm outside, please can you open for me? Or if they're not at home, they will tell you, can you wait for us 5 minutes or 10 minutes? And then they can get there and then you can actually see them. And if at all that there's nobody at home, there is some courtesy cards that you can write. In some local authorities, they've got courtesy cards that you can write. I had come to see you at this particular time. I didn't find you at home. I'll come back on this date again, or call me on this number so that we can arrange another visit. So you can write that card, post it through the letterbox, and then they will see it and they will call you back. Or, if you've given them another time that you're going to be coming back, they can call you to confirm that you can come at that other time. We will be at home. It's also important to make sure, like, remember, I spoke about making sure that you record everybody who is in the family home. It might be that whoever is in that particular household at that particular time is not meant to be there. So that would be a breach of the safety plan or the working together agreement. So you need to make sure that you record all the adults and all the children who are in that particular household, even if they are children whom you have not come to see, but they are in that particular household, they will need to be recorded as well as part of your visit. Right, so moving on, if you come to a household and the other children who are not present for your visit, you also need to ascertain where they are, who they are with, when are they coming back, and where have they gone, what's the purpose of their journey or wherever they've gone, because you need to ascertain all those kind of things. Remember, it's all about safety and it's all about making sure that children are safeguarded at the end of the day. So those details would be really, really important as well. If you do not manage to see any of the children, say for example, it's 4 children who are open to you, you've gone in, you've seen 3, 1 you haven't seen them, make sure that you go back as soon as possible to see the other 4th child whom you haven't seen. For some social workers, I know they might take shortcuts and say, I've seen 3 children, I'll record the other one is not seen and then see them the next time again. You are not adhering to the time scales of those children being seen. So it means that if you've gone out, you've seen 3, you haven't seen the 4th child, you will need to come back as soon as possible to see that 4th child again, to make sure that all 4 children have been seen within time scales. And the most important thing to be mindful of is it depends with one local authority to the other. Some local authorities, they say child in need they can be seen every 20 days. Some local authorities, it is every 21 days. However, most local authorities, children who are subject to child protection plans, they have to be seen every 10 days, every 10 working days. So my advice to you is don't wait for the 21 days, don't wait for the 28 days, or if it's a looked after child, don't wait for the 45 days. Don't wait for the 10 days if it's a child protection plan. If it's a child who is subject to a child protection plan, make sure that you try to see a child who is subject to a CP plan or a child protection plan on the 7th day. If you don't see them, many things can happen. Maybe they come back late from school, or they've come from school and gone to town to do some shopping. You haven't found them. That's day 7. You can still go back day 8. You can still go back day 9. You can still go back day 10. So you still have that leeway of seeing them, within time scales. When we say children have to be seen within time scales, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you had seen them previously and it's now day 11 or day 12, and then you record you've seen them, it's within time scales, it's out of time scales. They have to be seen every 10 working days, which is the reason why I'm recommending that if it is possible, see them on the 7th day or on the 8th day. You still have an allowance of 2 more days to see them before that visit is out of time scale. And when that visit is coming out of time scale, always communicate with your manager about the reasons why it's coming out of time scale, what's going on, and then if there's any support that you need, support can be put in place to make sure that those children will be able to be seen. The same with such children who are subject to child in need plans. Surely you can't have children subject to child in need plans being out of time scale when you're supposed to be seeing them every 28 days or every 21 days. 21 days, that's a lot of time for you to be able to plan, do that visit, and actually record it as well. So make sure that you see them every other week if possible, or even see them before the 21 days lapses, to make sure that your visit is always within time scales. That's another important thing for you to be mindful of as well. And then when it comes to you being in the household, make sure that you observe the children in the household, the way they interact with their parents, the way they interact with other siblings, the way they interact with the other adults in the household. Make sure you observe and record all those things. You don't go into a home visit marching left, right, and center like this. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to go in with a pen and paper to make sure that you record your observations. You go in, make sure that, observe the home conditions, check the cupboards. Is there food in the fridge? Is there food in the cupboards, which is age appropriate for those children? It doesn't necessarily mean that it should just be any other type of food, but is it appropriate for the ages of the children that are there? And with your theory, or with the course that you did on child development in developmental stages of children, you should be able to determine whether this is age appropriate for these particular children that you are seeing at that particular moment. Make sure that each and every child needs to be seen alone, and if it is possible in their own bedrooms, where you'll be able to check where they are sleeping. It's not necessarily that you just go into the household or go into their room and see the bed which is done. There's nothing wrong with you opening the bed covers to see whether there are issues around enuresis or something like that, so that you can actually put in some support if there are concerns. Yeah, so I was talking about making sure that you also observe the child's physical presentation, their emotional presentation, the way they interact with the adults in the family home, and their general emotional well-being. When you talk to them, what is it that they are saying to you? And when you go into their bedrooms, you also need to make sure that you check. You can actually remove the top cover of the bed to make sure that everything is fine. There are no any concerns or any worries that you might be having out of that visit. So it's really also important to make sure that when you're observing the interaction between the child and the adult in the family home, you need to check whether the primary carer, who is either the mother or the father in that particular household, is responding to the needs of that baby appropriately according to their age, right? Are they supervising the child well within that particular household? Are they also appearing to be attuned to the needs of the child? You will tell as a professional, this parent is doing their best for the child. Or if they're not even bothered, the child is crying, nobody's even giving them attention. That's a bit worrying when you're observing something like that. So you need to come back and have a conversation with your manager or want somebody senior in your team about your observations and how best that family can be supported going forward. You need to make sure that you need to talk to the children on their own. Try to make sure that you see them away from the main carer, so that you'll be able to gather their views, wishes, and feelings, which is independent from them being nearer the carer, because sometimes they may not necessarily be able to open up on what's going on with them if they are maybe sitting closer to their carer. Make sure that you have got many tools that you can use for direct work with the children. And when you go into their bedrooms, see the sleeping arrangements. What are the sleeping arrangements? Remember, there is sudden infant death syndrome, which is associated with parents co-sleeping with the children in their bedrooms. So you need to make sure that there is appropriate sleeping arrangements for the children. And if there is need for you to support them with a letter to housing, then please do so that they can have a comfortable sleeping arrangement for themselves. Sometimes you can get into a household and see a child who is sleeping. You can only wake them up if your role is to make sure that there is height and weight measurements for the child, like for a health visitor. But for you as a social worker, you can still observe a child who is sleeping and come back possibly when they are awake. It may not necessarily be the best to ask the parents to wake up their child who is resting or sleeping. But as long as you've seen the child is breathing, and you can actually observe and say, when I went there, the child was sleeping, and then come back on another day when the child is possibly awake, and you can actually observe what you need to observe. And other children who are in the household who are not subject to any plans, remember, they need to be seen, and you need to observe and know their names, who they are. If there are any safeguarding concerns or any health hazards that you have observed when you look around in the family home, say there are no stair gates and there's a vicious dog in the house, or there are pets in the house which you think might end up harming the child, address those issues with the parents so that they continue to be safeguarded. With these few tips, I just want to say thank you for watching the videos. If you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that when I post, you'll be the first person to be notified. And if you are not new to the channel, please continue to like the videos, continue to watch, share with others, so that you'll be able to learn a few tips from what I'll be sharing on this channel. Thank you so much for watching.